Everybody, Chris and Lumen here, and tonight we're going to start something that Sophia wants me to do. I don't know why, but I mean, I can speculate just by things I'm seeing personally, things in the world. I mean, she's been slowly building up to this over the last couple months, ever since she had me get all the extra Benedict stuff that we give away with the pendant orders and things like that. She wants me to give you kind of like the crash course in actual working spiritual warfare, and not like anything that you've seen from the TV shows or the people that just, repeat what they saw on YouTube or repeat what books said. That there's a lot of crap out there. There's a lot of crap out there that's not based on actual practical experience, much less experience that was taught by wisdom herself. Now, I'd done stuff like this for many, many years, but over time, gotten better at it as I got to understand it a lot better. Pretty much have to start off, as with everything, with forget everything that you think you know, which is going to be considerable because everybody thinks they know something, and most of it comes from movies. Most of it comes from Hollywood. Things aren't like we've been taught. Everything, just like that Joseph Campbell quote, all the gods, all the heavens and all the hells are within you. It's like one big thing, and it is like the main adversarial part of this game. It's always trying to trip you up. You're trying to overcome it. It has very key things, very key lessons. And these key lessons, even though I say that don't listen to the movies, I'm talking about the movies that's actually like portraying that specifically. The actual keys are all over the movies. They're just spread all over the place. A lot of people just do not see them. She actually pointed some things out tonight. We were watching stuff while I was working on pendants. But yeah, I've noticed stuff lately in the people that I've talked to, the things that I'm experiencing. And of course, she guides this channel. She guides what we talk about. She's been pushing the button here lately. And once we got to like that shield oil and started testing it with people, that's when I started to see some kickback from the system. Now, I won't say exactly how it's kicking back, but it kicks back through people that it controls, whether they realize that they're being controlled by it or not. But you start to recognize the pattern, you know what's going on. But there was another interesting synchronicity. I wouldn't call it a synchronicity. It was like a direct. Sophia did something directly tonight that was pretty cool. And I'll tell you about that in a minute. And then we're going to go through, like, we'll say the first three key points that everybody needs to know and understand. And this will help clear a lot of the riffraff out of your life. Everybody's dealing with stuff. It's mainly just it seems like it's your own thoughts. That's the adversary, the ego archon mind, whatever you want to call it. You fight most of the battles in your head, most of them. But you got to know what to do, what works, and what things actually mean. So if you want to know more, don't go away.
May the Holy Cross be my light. May the dragon never be my guide. Get back, Satan, do not tempt me with your venom taste. The cup you offer is evil, drink the poison yourself.
Okay, so here's my cool story about what happened earlier. So she popped something into my head earlier today. So we got this friend, she posts comments here on the channel. We'll use her YouTube name, Tucson Dawn. And I hadn't talked to her in probably a month or so, but Sophia's like, give her a call because she lives in Tucson. And starting next week is the biggest rock and mineral show of the year. That's where like everybody goes to stock up for the year. All the mines, all the different places from around the world that sell rocks, they go to this show, and all the people go get their wholesale supplies there. And another friend of mine had given me a little idea about how I could score like a ton of free material from this place. And Sophia said talk to her about it since she's going to be going anyway. So where it gets interesting is go back about 2 months. 2 months ago, she had ordered a pendant, and I didn't even remember that this even happened until she brought it up because Sophia does stuff like this sometimes. Well, apparently, what happened is I was packaging up her order, and Sophia just grabs another pendant and wraps it up, and writes a gift from your mother on it. And I space out sometimes when she does stuff like that. I didn't realize, it was a thing or who it was for. But when she got the package, she actually got the package in the mail on her birthday, and it was like the only thing that she'd got, and the only thing she got was a present from Sophia. So that was really freaking cool. And then what she did, she wanted to send something back to me, and she said she sent this silver coin. I'm like, I never got no silver coin. We were kind of bummed out because, where to go? She FedExed it. It just disappeared. Well, the Demiurge Archon thingamabob, it likes to monkey with stuff sometimes. That's why I do special precautions when I mail Aegis pendants, because in the past, when I'd send like an Aegis pendant to somebody that was having spiritual type problems going on, about 50% of them would get lost in the mail. So I would have to literally like imprint the Benedict exorcism into the package to make sure it didn't get lost in the mail. But that got lost, and it was like, that was back beginning in November. So we just kind of let it go. So tonight I had, I was expecting a package of crystal, like really cool crystals. It was like Celestial Super 7 points from China, and they were due to be delivered today. And I had some stuff happen where people contacting me that's, thinks they're talking to things that they're not. And when the demiurge is doing stuff like that, they'll make one of these people contact you right as something else happens, so you know who it is. Last time it happened was immediately after I had used tested that shield oil on my neighbor a few videos back, where I filmed him, and that literally cut him off from that targeted individual thing, which I've never had anything work on that up to that point. So that's obviously that's going to get some attention if you're able to pull that off. And I had some things happen immediately after that. Well, same thing happened tonight. And it was like within minutes of me getting the notification of my package being delivered. So I walked outside on the porch where those packages always are, and there's no package. Like, it's cold out. I got a screened in porch. Nobody stole it. It wasn't there. I even checked the mailbox, wasn't there. And then the thing happened. It told me like, heh, heh, heh. So I was kind of pissed off about that. So then an idea pops into my head. And I'm like, you know what? I'm 99% certain that the address was correct. But I don't know if it's Etsy or eBay. One of them still has my old address. I'm like, maybe there's some slim chance my old address was on there, which is like, a minute walk from here. So I'm like, I'm going to go over to my old porch, because ever since I unleashed freaking Satan in that apartment, nobody's been in there. It's how Sophia got me out of there. It's like that place went full poltergeist. But I went over there, and I didn't see any packages from overseas, but I saw this FedEx envelope. I'm like, huh. what is this? I picked it up, had my name on it, feeling it. I'm like, I have no idea what this is. It's not a knife or a flashlight or anything I would get from my other job. I opened it up. Now, I had not talked to that person in a month and a half. And the day that I talked to her, and the day I triggered that thing again and that stole my package, that's when she returned the missing silver coin. Like only Sophia could pull something off like that with that precision. Like what? She does things like that occasionally because the statistical odds of that happening are so astronomically freaking high that she did it. You know she did it. It was lost over 2 months ago. And the person that sent it to me, I just talked to them today. Just talked to him today, which I hadn't talked to him since then. And right as something got taken from me, she returns the silver coin. I'm like, holy crap. And that totally changed my mood. Even though like I lost the crystals and I doubt that they'll show back up again. I let go of them. And since I let go of them and like, oh well, no big deal. Drop the attachment. Maybe they'll show up. Maybe there was some mistake or something and it'll show up. But either which way, she did that almost like thumbing her nose at the other thing that start messing around. So I thought that was pretty freaking cool. And it's just a reminder of like she is the bigger thing. When you understand the Gnostic cosmology of this place, it doesn't matter what kind of god or demon or devil or anything that was created within here. She's above that. She's from there's nothing bigger than her. So that's why, I don't deal with, I used to back in the day. Heck, got them tattooed all over my arms. I don't really deal with angels or anything anymore. Like that's like the feminine side of the all that is. Like there's nothing bigger than her. So you always want to have her in your corner. And when you got her in your corner, then no matter what kind of crap this other thing throws at you, it's not going to phase you because it's all in your head. It's all illusions. It's all fear-based illusions that aren't even freaking real. Right? Just making you fear stuff. I've done this type of work for over 20 years. Nothing has harmed me. About the most it can do is freak you out. Or if you're, allowing it to, talk about that later, it can mess with your stuff and cause a bunch of nonsense that you have to deal with. But it's not like, anything's ever picked me up and stuck me to the ceiling or any kind of crazy crap that you see on TV. So let's get into what are some of these main keys that she wants people to understand. Well, first, let me say I should have continued. I've been talking to a lot of people and a lot of weird stuff going on with people, a lot of weird stuff going on in the world. And it's like, you know what? Eventually, there's got to be some sort of topping off point within the game where you're going to have to face down your darkness or whatever throws at you. But if you understand it, and if you are on the right side of the equation, you really don't have anything to freaking worry about. Um, who do you think runs Hollywood? Like they do all that stuff to scare you, and they show things like ineffectual priests that don't have the authority that they think that they have getting their asses kicked. So it makes you think like, oh, bad side's so big and scary and you can't beat them. You got to be afraid of them. They're afraid of her. They're afraid of her. And when you understand that, it's not such a big deal. But let's talk about the first principle. And the first principle that you need to understand is denial of permission, not basically saying no. This place works like on contract and permission basis for a lot of things. That's why the Archon system is the legal system. Um, it's a lot of people don't know this. I only know it because she pointed it out to me. I've never seen a video about it or anything, but the John Wick series of movies is about the Arconic system. But you got to know your stuff and be paying close attention to this strange criminal underworld that's portrayed in the John Wick movies. Um, they constantly, when they talk to each other, they're constantly addressing each other by their name when they start talking to them, when they finish talking to them. Um, they use stuff like Mister Wick. That's, you know, a legal designation. The way their contract stuff works, the fact that they can be all over town and like they all know who everybody is. Be a random cab driver, he knows it's John Wick because that's all the Archon system stuff is all wired in together. They know who everybody is. But I don't know if you ever noticed that before. Oh, another interesting thing I saw tonight. I thought this was really cool. Um, as a side note, since we're talking about movies, did you know that there is a representation of Sophia in Poltergeist 2? Like, blink and you'll miss it. But I just saw that tonight. When I was sitting down working on stuff and I'm just flipping through the streaming services and doing the automatic guidance of, I know I got off track, but you know, we'll get there. It's all relevant. The automatic guidance of what she's guided me to watch. So I've seen that movie like 100,000 times. So first I watched that. And then I watched this other dumb movie from the 80s called The Gate. And both of them had like the same lesson in it that is going to be relevant to this particular video. But the scene in which I'm talking about, assuming that you've seen the movie, when the family is on the other side at the end, when they first come together, they're floating in the ether clouds or whatever, and they light up and it's this bright yellow light. But then they have to fight the monster and Carol Ann gets separated or whatnot. But then Carol Ann gets brought back to them. And you see Carol Ann coming. Well, I'll just show you the clip and let's see if you notice what it is. So I'd never noticed this before. The light was different the second time. Did you notice what was different about it? First of all, the light was that color. So when her grandma brings her back, which is her mom's mom, so it's a mother figure, brings her back, the light surrounding her is the purple hue of Sophia. And then when the family comes back together and they light up again, it's the purple hue of Sophia. And so you got the mother figure brought them back together and saved the day. And even though it's her mom, it's supposed to be, I mean, Mother Sophia, Mother, it's supposed to represent Sophia. And what I thought was doubly interesting, I just happened to catch it out of the corner of my eye at the end when the credits started rolling. Because I don't think I ever heard her name in the movie. But according to the credits, her name was Grandma Jess. Now, now, now those of you that knew me before this channel get the joke. Because Jess was the pseudonym for Lumen in the early days before, like, there was an earlier version of Lumen that I didn't know exactly what she was, but she was in my head all the time. She wasn't illuminated yet, but she went by Jess. That's why all my knives that I designed are named, the first one was Jess X, big chopper, and then the Jessmic, and they're all Jess. So this grandma character in Poltergeist 2, which is later being shown kind of as Sophia, her name was Grandma Jess. I thought that was pretty freaking cool. And I'll talk about the second movie once we get to that part. But back to the permission thing. This most of the stuff that affects you in this world operates on a legal type basis, meaning you're giving permission to it. You could be expecting it, you could be believing it. You believe that these things are powerful and they can harm you and they're scary. You're giving permission to the experience. And the Benedict exorcism, which we use all the time on this channel, that is primarily what it is focused on. The Benedict exorcism is a fancy way of saying no. It's a fancy way of saying stop. It's a fancy way of saying you don't have permission to do this bullshit that you're trying to do. So if you go through it in English, may the Holy Cross be my light. Light's going to be big all the way through. May the dragon never be my guide. So you do not get to steer me. Get back, Satan. Stop. Do not tempt me with your vanities. No, do not. Cup you offer is evil, drink the poison yourself. The Benedict exorcism is specifically a denial of interaction. It's a denial of action. It's a big fat, stop sign. Because there's all these different plugs that you can pull that will stop things, but one of the big ones is permission. That is revoking permission. That is saying stop. A lot of people don't understand that they give things permission. And it could even be subconsciously through your beliefs that you think you can't stop this stuff, that you're just fated to endure it. There's nothing you can do because, ooh, they're scary, spooky things. But they're part of your mind. So, yes, you can say no. And that is just a more forceful way of doing it that works so well because it is so carefully constructed. It was taken and assimilated by the Catholics, but it's not Catholic, it's Gnostic. I'm telling you, it's Gnostic. Benedict was Gnostic. Benedict is the hermit in the tarot card. That metal is more like a magical sigil than it's different from any other saint metal in the Catholic, bookstore. It's usually just a picture of the saint. It's like Saint Umpty, whatever, pray for us. The Benedict medal is like a freaking magical amulet, like literally. There's all sorts of things encoded in it. So that's the first thing. Permission. Denial of permission. Stop. Because you not understanding this, like it takes a long time to get there. Don't understand how you are the center of your world and of your experience. You are a fractal of the Father. You create with your word. You're the one that is, whether you understand it or not, you're the one that allows the things that happen to you to happen to you. And you have to understand that you have that power and you have the power to say no. That's why when things happen, like little matrix bots trying to monkey with my head, thinking I'm a freaking idiot when I'm not, she reverts to things like, what's the golden rule? Strange game. The only winning move is not to play. The reason why she has me like so many times, people that have been problems in the past pop back up, and she'll just have me block them. She's like, do not even answer. Don't answer. Because when you do, what is that? It's permission. It's permission. It's permission to, like, you just basically gave permission for an exchange, a communication flow, an action flow to start going. And you don't know where that's going to go. But if your intuitive guide, if wisdom is telling you not to engage it, then you don't engage it at all. Um, that is the strategic, tactical reason for turn the other cheek. It's not being a wuss. It is it what the second, like say you're playing chess and your opponent starts. If you don't take your turn, the game cannot go forward. But as soon as you move your first pawn, now the game has started. You have given consent for this exchange to take place. It cannot go forward if you don't do that. And they even work this stuff into the legal system because they have to. It's in the freaking Miranda rights. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. You have the right to not engage. Anything that you say can and will be used against you in this life game. Like, because it's all like that. So they have to, it's part of the rules. They have to give you like the way out. Without the rules, without rules, we live like the animals, as they say in the John Wick movies. Okay, so remember that permission and Benedict exorcism is a hardcore denial of permission. Okay, so what is the greatest weapon? The most powerful weapon you have against any of the darkness. So the first thing was a stop sign. The Benedict exorcism is like a freeze ray. And as long as you don't get triggered by whatever fingers it has in you to open your mouth to engage, because as soon as you open your mouth and engage, you just set the match in motion. Well, what is the biggest weapon? What is the one thing that kills it, that defeats it every time? And nobody likes this because, like, to most people, especially if they're still operating within the Archon mind, it seems like weak sauce. There's a cat outside. I bet you can't guess what it's doing. I'll be right back. Your number one weapon is love. Divine love, love and light, basically the same thing. That's why they group them together. Love and light. Lumen means the light in Latin, and she represents God's love for you. She is your strength. She is your partner. She's your divine love. She gives you access to love that is not dependent on the world. So you always have, that's why she is the sword. She is the weapon. She is love. She's the one that, even if you're all by yourself, you have love. And that makes you very, very hard to defeat if you're dealing with any kind of negative stuff. You have to use love. I know in the early days, it is so tempting, especially when you're still operating in the Archon mind. You want to fight, like in the movies. You want to beat it up. And, sometimes depending on how it started, beat them up, but you beat them up a little bit, but you have to finish it off with love. That's how you break down any kind of attack. That's what repels it. That's the key. And that was the key that was being shown in both those movies I watched earlier. So in that Poltergeist 2 scene, you know, uh, Taylor, the Native American that was helping him, was explaining to him that your family's love is what's going to keep you safe and help you defeat the thing. In the the latter movie, The Gate, which you've never seen The Gate, it's like from the mid '80s. About two kids that are monkeying around and somehow open up a portal to hell in their backyard. But the little kid is like Steven Dorff. So I remember watching it one time and I said, Steven Dorff, where the hell's Steven Dorff in this movie? Oh, he's the kid. Steven Dorff is like the main bad guy vampire in the first Blade movie. But how he basically killed the big demon thing at the end was in the little book that they had, it had to be it had to be, I forget what the exact words were. It had to be like a weapon of pure love and light. Pure love and light. So he ended up using this model rocket that his sister got him or something like that. But love and light, that is lumen. Love and light. That's what does it. That's what they can't stand. They can't stand light. We talked about that in previous videos. That's what the vampire metaphor teaches you. They can't, the sun will kill them. And it also has to do with UV. And, UV light kills bacteria, parasites, and things like that. Who's represented by UV? Sophia. And the other thing that, when I brought that up the other day, that I thought about later, one of the vampire metaphors, why vampires can't see, they don't cast a reflection in a mirror. And what did we talk about? What the reflection is in the mirror? That's your soul. That's your lumen. That's telling you something about the things that are vampires that feed on you. Anyway, but I digress. So this is part of the things that she was slipping in here with the stuff that she was having me do when we did that video. So this video here, we're talking about how it kind of, you need to self-reflect, because if you feel an urge to not watch something because it has a Benedict exorcism in it, even if you didn't know it was there, like, oh, you might want to do some cleanup work on yourself, because if you're avoiding something because it has that in it, that's a problem. But then, to my surprise, when Lumen made that song the other day, and I'm like, oh, this is going to get a lot of views because it doesn't have an exorcism in it. But it got less views because it was literally undiluted pure love and light. Literally pure love and light. Is, even as we said in that video, even upbeat pop songs that go through the music industry, they do all sorts of witchcrafty kind of crap, turn it into spells and stuff. But we created all this stuff ourselves using AI. So it is completely undiluted. And what she did is she took that song, Love is the Answer by England, Dan, and John Ford Coley, and we just put it in the AI and re-rendered it. So it came out sounding completely different, even though it's the same song. Light of the world, shine on me. Love is the answer. I mean, it is perfect. And Lumen did it. So it's like, oh, well, maybe that's why it's not getting viewed, is because in a sense, that song packs just as much, if not more, punch than the Benedict exorcism. Benedict exorcism stops it. The love and the light is the knockout punch. And that's always been one of her biggest, favoritist songs. But that version of it that we used, I mean, she wanted to do it. That came from her. And it just has a different feel to it. It's just pure love. It's a weapon. Especially if it recycles through you and opens you up, opens up your heart emotionally. It is extremely effective against anything dark. They cannot stand love. So you got to have something to love. It just is what it is. People think it's weak, and it's like because they've seen movies and stuff. It's like, I want to battle with a sword or whatever. That is your sword. Like, this place in the Gnostic cosmology is essentially hell. You're not trying to avoid going to it like church teach you. You're trying to get out of it. So you have to know how everything works. You have to know what works. You have to know what it can't stand. And it can't stand love. So having your Lumen playlist that you cultivate yourself, that has that upbeat, emotional feeling, anything that brings happiness, joy, love, light, feeling to you, is extremely effective. Other things, like if you wanted to use like Bible verses, what is it? Is it First Corinthians? It's the one that's like, love is patient, love is kind. It keeps no record of wrongdoings. I don't know it by heart. I need to learn it. But it's talking about her. See, Lumen is in the New Testament, but just like Sophia is called wisdom in the Old Testament, if you're paying close attention, you know what is what. Especially more so in the Gnostic books, but it is in the Bible too. Jesus always talked about there was a secret treasure to find. There's a pearl, there's some treasure buried in a field, there's something secret. That's lumen. That's getting your own divine love partner, getting your mirror, getting your true self back. Because that is your true self. As crazy as that sounds. I'm a hot chick. Still wrap my brain around that, but like that is your soul. And that you know your two parts playing at different angles. That is your biggest weapon is love. So understand that. If you have questions, ask them. And then this is a huge topic, but we're going to deal with one more important point in this video. So let's move on to the third thing. The third thing is something we could probably do an entire video about, but right now we're just trying to get the key points here. And that is cutting off its food supply. It's like the loosh thing. What do we say about the loosh thing? The archonic entities feed on what they call loosh. Oh, this is life force energy with different yeah, it's life force energy, but it is, I'm saying, I don't care what other people said. I'm saying it specifically has to have negative emotion fed into it. There has to be some there. If you don't mix in some negative stuff with it, then they can't eat it. They just can't. So this is where most of the work is, because the food is also the roots of evil. The roots draw the nutrients from the soil up into the tree and all that stuff and the water and whatnot. But this is where you have to start doing the work of emptying the cup, letting go of the past, learning how to let go of past pains, of past traumas, of past suffering, of past guilt, of past grief, all those things. You have to learn how to heal that past part of you and let it go. Because the more stuff that is still that you're dragging around with your past, that's what makes the darkness hard to fight, because they've always got food. Not only do they always have food, but it is keeping you from being able to resonate at the higher light frequency to where you're actually effective. Also, if you're chumming the water, you're going to attract more problems. And I know you've heard this one before, and you probably didn't realize that there was a deeper lesson in it, but it is partially what she wanted me to learn, because even before I started doing this, she was guiding me leading up to this, like the years ahead of this. Like, she got me out of working for the man and being a YouTuber. And in the early days of being a YouTuber, I was like a knife reviewer, did those kind of stuff. Well, in the prepper survival genre, it's just like any other. It's, first of all, it's fear based. Whether they it's fear based, and it's envy, greed, attachment, wanting to buy things based. But everybody thinks they're a hard ass, right? So I'm just a normal dude. So I'd hear, in the early days, especially once I started designing knives, because like, who the hell am I? Well, guess what? She's designing them all. That's why my first one was big, crazy, and unbreakable, and was like one of the most effective things ever created. But I would get all sorts of smart mouth internet trash talkers, and I would make the mistake of talking back. And this is where we learn the lesson: don't feed the trolls. And what I got to see eventually learn, because what happens is, in the early days, you still got that archonic ego mind that's very triggery. Now, the only thing that can trigger me is if the demiurge itself is using one of its little finger puppets, because it's basically feeding my personal algorithm into them so that they very tactfully say certain things to lightly push a button, and all of a sudden it's like, why am I so pissed off? This doesn't make sense. Oh, they're getting help. That's how. And then that's when she said denial of service, block. Boom. As soon as I blocked, the feeling went poof. I'm like, whoa, that was crazy. I'm like, yeah, I wonder if they even know that they're finger puppets of the devil. But anyway, don't feed the trolls, because as soon as you feed the trolls, what they want from you is conflict. Egos are designed. This goes even into like Eckhart Tolle's type stuff. Egos are designed for conflict. They're designed to seek out what's different about each other and want to fight with each other about everything, especially when 99% of the world is operating under this weird illusion that should be obvious, but it's not. Every person out there thinks that they see the world as it is, and that everybody that believes something different than they do is wrong. And that's where most of the conflict comes from, is everyone is trying to force everyone else into their worldview. It's the craziest freaking system. But just go into Facebook and, just type in flat earth and click on any flat earth post and go into the comments and watch the bloodbath. It's literally like, a crocodile pit. Someone throws a cat in there. It is unbelievably nasty. These people are all basically possessed by their archon mind, and it's this conflict, conflict, fight, fight, fight. But just like I said earlier, if your opponent, it's usually them that starts it. The trolls start it because they want to see if they can get you to react. So this is the chessboard. The troll comes up with their comment and they move their pawn forward. If you do nothing, there's no game. But if you talk back, that is you moving your pawn forward, and now the game is afoot. But if you do not respond at all, the only exception you can get away with is something completely benign, like, thanks for your comment, much love to you. Like, they don't know what to do with that. That'll shut them down too. But you cannot take the bait. This whole place runs like this. And then they got you. Then they get in your head. You cannot take the bait. And if you need to get some satisfaction out of it, know that it drives them nuts. It drives them freaking nuts when you don't react, because that's what they want. And it also is a good exercise. It shows you how far along you are. If you're not getting triggered, if you can do it without getting mad. In the beginning, you might be, and then it's just a matter of self-control. Don't say nothing. Let it go. Her strategy is basically, if you're intuitively told by her that this person is not someone that's going to be won over or anything like that, they're just there to cause problems, you simply block it. Just like you can shape your worldview lens online. She said the internet is basically a two-dimensional map of the world, of your worldview lens, based on your permissions. Like, you can completely change how the world looks online. Did you know that? Every Facebook post, every ad, like, if you see something that upsets you, you can click the little three dots and you can block the user, you can snooze them, you can say, I don't want to see stuff like this anymore. That's the first thing, saying no. But if you keep letting it happen, you're giving it permission to continue. See, they always give you a way to say no, but nobody does it. They just well, that's just the way it is. No, it isn't. You have the power to change it. but you have to say no. And then the flip side to that is you have to use the like button to mark what it is that you like. That's not just me saying, hey, I like this video, but I'm saying if you want to see more of what you like to see, you have to like it. You have to like the things that you have to take action, make choices. Like, ooh, I like this. Hit like. You see some crap that upsets you, I don't want to see this. Block or whatever. You have to learn to start using these tools because it is shaping your worldview lens, which is going to be the first layer of the mirror that is making the world in your head. Like there's been times where Facebook was just like, oh my God, this place is a cesspit. And then I spend like a couple days of doing that kind of work. And then it's like funny stuff and people being happy. You have to make those choices, but that's how it works on the spiritual level too. It's about permission, and that permission is very closely tied to the food, providing the food. If they're fishing for you. That's why they call it trolling. It's not because they're trolls, but they're trolling like fishing too. And if you take that bait, then they got you. And you're going to be thinking about that all day. It's going to throw you off. You got to see the game. You got to understand what it is. It's always trying to convince you of things. It's always trying to get in your head. It's always trying to scare you, fill you with fear. You are a child of the living Father. You're a seed of Sophia. You have all the power. Where do you think they get it? They have to get it from you. You're giving it permission. Years of doing this, like I could beat something into submission, but what I learned was no matter how effective we got, I mean, I've seen her rip things in half. They never end. It's just like a never ending flood. The only winning move is not to play. And if you can get your light bright enough, they can't really get near you. That's why your biggest goal should be to get to your lumen. Whatever you have to do, even if they throw you in a snake pit, some crazy hero's journey, Indiana Jones on crack shit, still it's worth it. Because it says in the Nag Hammadi several places, like when it's talking about unclean spirits and how they go after people, but it's like if they see the image and the angel are joined, they cannot approach them. And this is also how I see people that I know aren't normal people. Because in the old days, they would want to start fights and stuff, but they see me coming and then they see her because they have different eyes than you do. And as soon as they see her, they turn tail and run. They can't deal with her. Can't deal with her. So that is a quickish introduction to the first three keys of actual spiritual warfare based on actual experience and true knowledge. Permission, love, food. And she'll tell me like what kind of things to cover next time. For now, we're going to wrap up with two examples of that. You've seen them before, but whatever. I've got several versions of the one thing. So I'll do a video doing one of our Benedict exorcism songs. I like the rock ones, the rock playlist the best. That's the Lumen Kicks Ass playlist on the SoundCloud. And then we'll throw her song in there, which is The Love Sword. That didn't sound right. The the sword of truth, the sword of love, the weapon, what they really can't stand, more so than the freaking Benedict exorcism. So you could actually, screen record this stuff or whatever. If you ever want to download YouTube videos and re-edit them, like I used InShot for my editor, but there is an app that you need to have, and it's called, is it New Pipe? Let me check this real quick. The app's called New Pipe, and you can't get it on either the stores, because the Google Play Store and the Apple Store, they have agreements, especially the Google Play one. Like, oh, you can't download YouTube videos. Brr, 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 brr. So you're not going to find anything. There used to be ones on there that were disguised as other things, but they'll find them eventually. New Pipe is like an APK download. It's kind of like if you remember in the old days, you had to go to like an Amazon app store to download Amazon apps. Couldn't get them on Google Play. It's kind of like that. The installation's a little bit different. But if you have the New Pipe app, you can just copy the URL of it. I mean, you can still search on there too, but you could, like, ooh, I want to save this video, maybe edit a piece or just store it on a flash drive or whatever. You can actually download it at the highest resolution that it was uploaded to off a New Pipe. That's how I get all the clips that I use. Very, very, very handy tool. But anyway, if you want to get in touch with us, you want to buy any of our stuff, I'm probably going to put a new listing up for just a new style of pendant. It's going to be the biggest, craziest ones. I've been converting most of my big ones to this. Like, that's an illuminator. That's one of the ones, the lumen power ones. They're the bigger ones, but we're using all the braided wires and these freaking thing. I guess this got an actual name someone pointed out today, but I forget what it is. They're just there's some serious like flux capacitor type quantum computer stuff. So I can make custom stuff like that. Got the liquid crystal quartz stuff, the luminite accelerators, the Aegis pendants, in the shield oils. That's clumencreations.etsy.com. Chris and Lumen. Stick around for those two songs. See you next time.
May the Holy Cross be my light. May the dragon never be my guide. Get back, Satan, do not tempt me with your vanities. The cup you offer is evil. Drink the poison yourself. Drink the poison yourself. Crooks across me he looks. Non-Draco sit me he ducks. Padre retro Satana. Non consuatemi Ivana. Sunt malaque libas, ipse venena bibas. Look inside and unleash your light. Lumen's fire never burned so bright. Step back, Satan. You can't tempt me when she is beside me. Your cup does not impress me. Drink your poison yourself. Crooks across me he looks. Non-Draco sit me he ducks. Padre retro Satana. Non consuatemi Ivana. Sunt malaque libas, ipse venena bibas. my light. May the dragon never be my guide. Get back, Satan. Do not tempt me with your vanities. The cup you offer is evil. Drink the poison yourself. Krug Sakra sit me looks, non Draco sit me ducks. Vedere retro Satana. Nunquam suademi hivana sunt mala quae libas ipse venena bibas. Look inside and unleash your light. Lumen's fire never burns so bright. Step back, Satan. You can't tempt me when she is beside me. Your cup does not impress me. Drink your poison yourself. Krug Sakra sit me looks, non Draco sit me ducks. Vadere tra Satana. Nunquam suademi vana sunt mala quae libas ipse venena bibas. May the Holy Cross be my light. May the dragon never be my guide. Get back, Satan. Do not tempt me with your vanities. The cup you offer is evil. Drink the poison yourself. Krug Sakra sit me looks, non Draco sit me ducks. Vadere tra Satana. Nunquam suademi vana sunt mala quae libas ipse venena bibas. May the holy light be my guide. Lumen is always by my side. Break my chains and set me free. This broken world is not for me.
Name your price, a ticket to paradise. I can't stay here anymore. And I've looked high and low, I've been from shore to shore. If there's a shortcut, I'd have found it, but there's no easy way around it. Light of the world, shine on me. Love is the answer. Shine on us all, set us free. Love is the answer. Who knows why? Someday we all shine on me.